All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Thriving Females. I'm Sarah.
And I am Tara.
And we have a very special guest today. I'm super excited. It's our first international guest. And I would like her to introduce herself and say hello.
Hi, it feels so good to be called international guest. I love that.
You sound famous.
I love. I'm Tulsi and I'm from London, so that's as international as it gets.
And we envy your accent right now. We're like, oh, that sounds so cool. So everybody, I invited Tulsi. I can't even remember how I came across her Instagram, but I was reading all of her posts and I'm like, holy cow, she is quite the thriving female because of experiences that she had in her life. And let's start with that. It goes back to when you were 10 years old. Let's start there, Tulsi, if that's okay. Your story from you when you were 10, and then we'll move forward to where you are today.
Yeah, so age 10, just being a regular child, and in a split second, life as I knew it changed. So I was involved in a plane crash when I was 10. It was a domestic flight in India, just there on holiday with my parents, and and like I said, in a split second, life as I knew it changed. I lost my family. So that's my mom, dad, and my brother. And I sustained 45% degree burns to my face and body. So not only had I endured this loss, but I've suddenly got a whole new identity. I look different. Never having even experienced burns of any kind, I'm now navigating a new way of life. So this happened in India. And then I'm flown back to the UK sort of a couple of days after the accident. And yeah, that's where my story really begins, I guess, waking up to a whole new face.
So. Wow, first of all, we send our condolences for your family and your loss that you experienced a long time ago. But I know that you have became where you are now, like you have struggled with emotionally, mentally, and physically. You've overcome those obstacles. Why don't you share how you got through some of those? Because it's very, very inspiring. When I read several of your posts, I mean, you've gone through weight loss, you've overcome how to self-love yourself. I mean, you have a lot to share with us, and I think other people could relate.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously you can imagine it's not an overnight process, of course, age 10, just being a child and suddenly thrown into being an adult. I am my own parent now. I went to live with my grandparents. So you can imagine, like in hospital, it's great because everyone knows how to deal with somebody who looks like with burns because they're used to it. So for them, I was just Tulsi. To my family, I was just Tulsi now. So I thought, this is great, everyone's going to accept me as I am. But it's when I leave hospital, that's my first experience of name calling, people crossing the road in case they caught something, children throwing things at me to see like if I'm human and have emotions. So suddenly I realized now that looking this way wasn't acceptable to the outside world, basically. And that, I guess, ties in with our version of beauty standards as well, because, we're all struggling to look this perfect thing. But what is that perfect thing? So for years and years and years, I've tried to be this perfect person, but I'm not, because I have my scars. But what we don't realize is the invisible scars that are way deeper than the physical scars. So where I equated my worth to my external being, for years and years, obviously, I've struggled to accept my scars. And you can imagine that's had a massive toll on my mental health. Of course, it's had a toll on my physical health and, of course, my emotional health. I'm going to put this out there, obviously, because I've not actually had any formal mental health support in the form of counseling or psychology or anything. So I've done that myself. But that's not to say I don't appreciate the services that are out there. It's just I didn't have access to those. So yeah, I did all my self-healing myself. The journey of self-love, it's the most bumpiest ride on the planet, I think. Personally, it's not something that's given overnight, and it's not something, oh, just go and love yourself. Like, it's just not that easy. you've got to shed everything you believe to be of yourself from the negative narrative and flip that into a positive, and then to live it and to embody it. I'm very fortunate where I am now because I have full body confidence. I have full control over how I look and present myself. I don't model myself on anyone else, Usually, like when you come on these live calls, it's like, oh my God, I better go and put my ball gown on and do my hair and makeup. Like, that's not me. Whereas before I would have struggled to have done that just so I can present myself in a certain way. And now my scars, I couldn't live without them, to be honest. They are a huge part of me. They don't control me. That's one thing. And I call them my gems because each and every single scar has a different story, has a different pattern, different color, texture, formation. And to be honest, that's us in our life, isn't it? We all have different strands and colors and textures and experiences. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
So you brought up a good thing that like when you got out of the hospital, you were still Tulsi, but you look different. And I think that's what a lot of the general public sometimes, if something happens, they forget the person is still that person inside. They just may look a little different. So you said that they didn't have so nobody, did you have therapy offered to you, or did they just expect a 10-year-old to act like an adult and, deal with her scars? Was that hard?
Yeah, good question. So from my own knowledge, I don't think I was offered any. And if I was at that stage, perhaps my family made that decision. Maybe I didn't need it.
Yeah.
So either way, I'm not sure. And then as time has gone on, it's just one of those, like coming from a South Asian culture as well, that's really important to put out there, that we're very much taught, okay, things have happened now, brush it under the carpet, let's move on. So it wasn't something I could talk about. It wasn't something I could explore. So pretty much I did suffer in silence, So for example, when the bullying happened and I mentioned it to somebody in the family, it was like, well, it's part and parcel of having a visible difference. So it's almost like I had to accept that bullying was going to happen because I look this way. And the bottom line is, it's not acceptable at all. Like, regardless of how you look like, bullying cannot happen regardless. There's just no excuse for it at all. So, of course, I suffered in silence then, because if I spoke about it, it will almost be like, we'll get used to it. That's what happens because you look this way, right? So where I did suffer in silence, I did feel very isolated, So in one hand, I was just trying to be an adolescent, friends and family and all of the social things. But internally, I just felt ugly. That's basically how I felt. I felt useless. I felt ugly and very worthless. Like, that's what I felt. And to be honest, like, life has thrown such things that I never was proven anything different, if that made sense. Like, just all that negative stuff that was thrown at me, that's kind of what I ended up wearing. Like, it's only in my recent journey now that I can say, like, I've flipped that script. But for my 10-year-old Tulsi, she didn't have a role model. She didn't have someone who looked like her out there, right? Like, there was no representation of someone who looks like her. So for me, I must be ugly because no one looks like me. So that's what I carried for a long time.
So with you lost your family, you were going through this huge identity crisis and reemergence. What support systems did you have in place, or what support systems would you recommend for somebody else going through something like this?
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, anything along the mental health support side is crucial. So just because I didn't have access to it doesn't mean I don't agree with it. Like, I very much agree with it. I have had formal counseling certificate courses. So, like, I've done formal education. So I can definitely see the huge benefits of psychological help, mental help. So please do go for that. I think it's very crucial. I think first and foremost, I think it's addressing the fact that there is an issue. I think that's really important. And it's okay, like you're not alone. I think that's a real massive thing. Although the situation might feel like you're on your own and it's heavy, it's dire, it's gripping, but just know you're not on your own. And there will be someone who will listen. It may not necessarily be the person you think it is, like a close friend or whatever, but there is someone who will listen.
So Tulsi, when you were younger, you struggled all of these years. At what age did you finally realize you're on your own? You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to fix from yourself, by yourself, from the inside out.
I think that started around the year 2012. Massive turning year. So you can imagine that's what, almost 22 years on, really, from the accident. I met the Katie Piper Foundation at that time. So they were a huge charity here in the UK, helping people with burns. And so, and I met Katie herself, an incredible, woman, doing amazing things. So if anyone hasn't heard of her, please do go and check out the amazing work her and her charity do. So I finally met people with burns. I finally got to a stage where, like, when people were telling me you look beautiful and I just couldn't see it. I was like, what are you seeing that I can't? But when I saw my peers at these events, and I could see the beauty in them, that's when it went, why can't I see that in myself?
You flip it.
Yes, I was like, oh, actually that scar looks cool. Oh, actually that's fine. Like, just little things I started to do and look at myself in a different way. Again, it's not overnight, definitely not overnight. But suddenly I realized I'm not on my own. Life threw another curveball because around the age of 26, I had end-stage renal failure. So now suddenly my burns weren't stopping me from living, if that makes sense. It was the mind that stopped me, not my physical burns. And here I am now actually, struggling to survive on a health aspect. So that changed for me a lot. So yeah, after the charity, just working on my confidence, being around more of my peers, more self-acceptance. And then in 2015, I got to be part of a catwalk event with Katie Piper and 7 other incredible women from different walks of life. And being 5 foot nothing, so a really short person.
Nothing's wrong with that.
And we had to do swimwear and I was on the front. So it's like, that's as much exposure as you can get. So I couldn't escape it. And to know that after the 9th show, I've done this and I don't want to hide myself anymore was a huge turning point. You did mention earlier about weight loss. It's not something I've actively gone on to do. It's just my way of coping through all of this was eating, overeating, emotional eating, whatever you want to call it. I had a lot of food association with loss and trauma. So now I don't hold on to that. The weight has started to fall off because I no longer need that kind of food to suppress my feelings. I do share my emotions. I'm not scared of them now. And I think that's all about masculine and feminine energy. It's the light and it's the sun and the moon and yin and yang. It's all of this is trying to have that balance within. So yes, where I am now, I am really confident. I own the whole of me. I'm not modeled my body or anything on anyone else anymore. It's like when we started this call, you're like, wow, you're blonde. And I feel like this inner person was ready to come out. And I love, I'm very flamboyant with how I dress and am. And that's who I really want to be. And I was just suppressing all of this,
Do you think that your newfound confidence, which even you are dealing with your scars and the trauma that you have, but other people have certain internal trauma, their own personal scars that might not be physical. Once you found this confidence, do you feel like people looked at you different?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like I have a different kind of glow and energy anyway. And I couldn't understand why I was this magnet for people to share their journeys with me. So even from a young age, like they were telling me things in their life. Like I won't use the word heavy in that way, but heavy in sense they were carrying a lot of heavy stuff. And at age 12, 13, they'd approach me in the street and tell me their life story. And like, whoa, like, am I a walking counselor here or something? I understood, because, well, I guess I understood it as because I held that space for them to share it without judgment. Because all my life I was trying to look for this thing where no one would judge me, but it's every day it was happening. But I guess I wanted to be that space for them where there was no judgment. It was just full acceptance. And now, obviously, where I am now, I know fully, I'm very aware of that energy. I'm very responsible for that energy. And I'm also really grateful that people do come to me for help and guidance. And I'm hopefully that I'm able to help them, I guess, find that inner diva within themselves, and to be able to come out and just be who they're meant to be all this time. Because I think, like I've said in one of my posts, beauty is basically unapologetically accepting yourself in every way. And it's not a shape, it's not a size, it's not a color, it's not a texture. It's just this inner being of going, this is who I am, accept it, or sod off, really, So,
yeah. Your handle name has divine in it. Where is that word from? What does that word mean?
For me, divines have a really beautiful connection with spirituality, and that's a massive pivotal part of my journey. For years, obviously, alcohol, drugs, food, nothing gave me answers to what was going on. There was, what is the purpose of all of this? So yeah, and then when I turned to spirituality and learning, so it's not about religion, it was just learning different religions, but the mystical messages behind them. Like I tried to explore life in a different way. So that's been massive for me. Yeah.
So when you talk about your spirituality, I saw that, do you think by turning to that, it helped overcome so many of the things? Like I know you got into Reiki and Pilates, and like, tell us about that experience, how you got there. When did you start seeing that was helping?
So Pilates came into my life around the year 2000, so just around the age of 2021.
Okay.
It was at the height of, like, at my heaviest weight. In the UK, I was a size 24, so I'm not sure what that's in the States there. But for me, that was, like I said, I'm a 5 foot nothing kind of lady, quite short. And so all that weight, you can imagine, taking its toll on me. So anyway, Pilates came into my life. My body shape started changing, so I could feel a little confident in myself. And I noticed a difference of how it was making me feel, like how I was functioning. And, Pilates is very much working the finer muscles before it works on the grosser muscles. So it's almost like life is throwing me that same message, working from the inside out, and not outside in. And yeah, and it helped me through so many things in my life. So even during my transplant, so I had a kidney transplant just before my 30th birthday. The way I was able to get in and out of bed with so much ease and grace, I think even the consultant was like, wow, like how do you do that? And why are you showing that you're not in so much pain? And that's all because of that core confidence, the core building that I had. But then I had so many infections after that. I lost all of that core stability. So the weight kind of piled back on. I was on steroids as well. So that came into my life. And then spirituality came in the form of, Reiki, healing things that I thought I healed from, the traumas. And then really facing myself in the shadow, basically, and that's what spirituality for me is. It's learning to live with the shadow as it is to live with the light, and to love myself in the shadow, because in the shadow is where you grow. I always use the form of a lotus as an example, because the lotus is growing in that mud. Now, in the mud, it has a choice of whether it stays there or whether it's going to flourish and flower for all the world to see and take pictures, right? But in that mud is where it's doing all of its growing, often under really dire conditions, often maybe not enough water, not enough light, or whatever it needs. But then one day it just emerges and it's just like, here I am. And it stands on its own. It doesn't need anyone else to tell you it looks beautiful. It just knows it is. And I think that for me has been massive part of my journey. Yeah. I feel like I've been talking and talking and talking.
I love it.
You're our guest, but
Yeah.
we have to laugh. My puppy is over here, like underneath of us, drinking really loud. And we're trying to make sure that you're not getting interrupted. So, because this is very inspiring.
Thank
So
you.
you are a parent as well?
Nope.
No. Oh,
Nope.
I thought you said that you had a little one.
No, I have loads of little ones, but they all go back home to their mummies and daddies. So
Oh, I thought you did too. Says you're a mom too. I don't know where I got that. So you say you're a humanitarian. What do you do when you're a humanitarian? What are some things you're doing right now with your life?
So a couple of things. I do lots of school talks as well. So now post pandemic, things are opening up. So I'm getting invited to do some school talks. We focus around body image, social media pressures, accepting identity. A lot of people, especially 2 years or so where people haven't seen people, their identities change. So it's kind of like, how do you navigate life with our identities forever changing, choosing careers? Like I go through all of that. I've done some sessions on grief and bereavement amongst young people as well. I also do corporate talks, so that's very different. Lots of women groups, like empowering groups, helping them overcome some of the things, the traumas that they're going through. So that's one of the other sides. What I want to get more into is doing it obviously on an international level, on stages, giving people tools of just accepting who they are, permission to be themselves, giving them tools how to be themselves, how to navigate the negative narrative and turn it around, and hopefully live a life that's fulfilling for them. And bottom line is, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I think that's what is really important to share, because the answers are always within. They've always been within, but we give our power to the external to tell us how to live or not. But we always know what's right for us if we listen to our heart.
And after you've led one, what makes it to where you leave and you're like, I got through to them. I know I did it. I saw magic happen.
For me, it's like seeds, right? I'm planting seeds wherever I go. I plant the seeds. I also give them this water, which is the tools. That water's filled with love. Now they have a choice whether they water those seeds
It's really okay.
or they leave it, and that's up to them. So the proof, as I always say, is when those trees are growing or the plants are growing. And yeah, that's how I know I've made a difference. So often I get messages as well. They'll be like, what you said in that talk, oh my gosh, it resonated. You've changed my life. Or what you said was, you made it sound so simple, and it actually is. And yeah. And as like I always say, it's a domino effect. If I'm sharing this with you and then you're empowered and you share it with someone else, it's just, everyone is doing their bit. And the quote I live by and is really important to me is, be the change you wish to see in this world, because I can't expect everyone else to change if I'm not doing the work.
And I think that's why I know I wanted to start Thriving Females, is just talk to everyday females, because I think everybody deserves a spotlight. But I always think if like somebody today is watching you and takes away something from that, you made a difference, we made a difference. That's where, you never know. You could touch 100 people or you could touch one person, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's, I'm not looking at the numbers here. It's just knowing that one sentence, which I might have, like, I have a habit of doing flyaway comments and quotes. It's just what I do. But somebody will pick that up and go, wow, that resonated. And like, wow, out of the whole talk, you picked that up, So everyone will pick up bits wherever they are in their journey.
So, one of your things on it that you talk about your tattoos, you fell in love with all the tattoos, but it was to cover some of your scars, or they had meetings. Tell us about that.
Yes, I haven't had any in terms of covering any scars, because a lot of artists don't work on scars. I have had one done on my abdomen on a scar. That was just to see how the ink would work, and it's fine. But for me, the way I express myself is in the form of, tattoos and ink. Each of them have a meaning. They're very spiritual, very deep connection. But for me, it's my way of decorating my body. It's my choice. Like, my burns weren't my choice. Yes, they are a decoration to my body, but the ink is my choice. I decorate it. I mean, everyone has an opinion on my tattoos, but it's their opinions. It's got nothing to do with me.
That's kind of a powerful moment, isn't it? Like, you got to put that on your body. The scars, you didn't get the choice, but you got to put that tattoo on your body.
Absolutely. And that's anything that we do to ourselves. It's our personal choice. We'll all have facts and opinions, but no one's living our life. No one's living our life. So it is just opinions. Yes, I will research the artist and do all of that, but how I choose to decorate my body is my choice. Don't like it, look away, stick your sunglasses on and move on, really.
So I do have a question, just because I just want to know, is why, so how come some don't want to work on your scars?
So sometimes just the way the ink can bleed onto the scar, so it looks blurry rather than a fine line.
Oh, okay. Because I know a lot of people do use tattoos to cover up scars, but sometimes the skin just it's not workable.
And also, like, pigmentation. So like where I've got South Asian skin, it will probably bleed a little bit more than if I had like Caucasian skin. So there's loads of little factors like that. But the one that's on my abdomen is a lotus, and so far it's actually taken really well. I mean, having said that, I've got medical tattooing on my eyebrows, so it's not like they're impossible. It's just I have to get these done quite regularly, because like my skin would swallow the ink quite a lot and it just fades very quickly. So it's just things like that, really.
What is this one? That's right here.
It's like literally staring at it. It's a tiger.
Wait, what is it?
So yes, just a tiger with the fierce eyes. And for me, it's, tiger is loyalty. It's fierce. It's powerful. It's beautiful on its own, and every stripe it's earned, and it's like just so poignant to my journey.
I figured it would have something, because it's right there. It's
right there.
One of the first things you see.
So besides Tulsi being a humanitarian, what do you do in your free time? What are your hobbies? What else do you do besides helping people?
Obviously, as you know, I love Pilates, so I try to do that at least once a week, if not twice. My walks, catching up with my friends. There's always something to talk about. I love studying. So at the moment, I'm studying a lot on the human design. So that for me is my big favorite thing at the moment. I love meditating. So that's something I enjoy. I love annoying my granddad. So that's another thing I love doing. But yeah, just catching up. Every day is so different. Like, I couldn't tell you what every day consists of. Yeah, like a lot of rehab is going on into my body as well. So I spend a lot of time with my osteos, Pilates, just trying to get this body to function again. So that sort of takes up a lot of my time. Yeah, so yeah, it's a bit of everything.
So you've talked about the past and what happened. You've shared kind of what you're doing now. What does the future hold for you?
The future holds, well, hopefully me on these big stages doing my talk.
Living the dream.
And paid you hots to turn up like a queen. And yeah, just having a great time. Like, for me, living in the present is so vital, so crucial. So this moment with you is literally all I have at the moment. So anything beyond that is just the future. Yeah, just make every moment count and literally live my best life in every moment. So yeah.
And I think a lot of people watching today, they might remember that sometimes you had a horrific accident and had to go through a lot of stuff emotionally and physically to realize how important life is and to live in the moment and to be kind. I know over here in America right now, we struggle with being kind to other people. And I think you are projecting a really good voice of reminding people to be kind to each other, no matter what we look like. And that's so important, I feel like, because I hate that we are not kind to each other. I hate that we bully each other, that there's racism out there. Tara and I both hate this kind of stuff. So.
No, but kindness, again, back to the whole change, it starts from us.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't be kind, it's because there's something in us that's missing, you know. And so it's like, work on that. So I've been there, don't get me wrong, you know, kindness doesn't just happen overnight. Like if I'm jealous, there's obviously something missing in me of why I'm jealous. So I need to work on that. If I'm envious of something, what is it that's in me that I haven't got that I'm envious? So rather than projecting that onto someone, I need to work on me. So kindness starts from the self first. If you're not loving yourself, you're not going to love nobody. You know, you can pretend to say I love you, but you don't really know the meaning if you don't love yourself, because it's just all conditioned love. I love you because you're beautiful. Well, that's not really a reason to love someone, you know.
Yeah.
So kindness is very much starts from yourself. And then when you start learning that we are, I know it sounds so cliche, but we are one, because, you know, I'm really passionate about this, but there's no country, there's no one better country than another. These are all just roadblocks and land that's been divided to say we're better this, that. But if you took all of that away, we're just one, you know. We all have hopes, dreams and desires. We all want a better life for ourselves, regardless of how it started. That's humanity. That doesn't come because you come from one country or another.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't come because one skin is different to another. That's an internal feeling. The color of our skin is just the color of our skin. It shouldn't give us any more rights and privilege just because of the color of our skin, you know, because equality is where everyone gets a fair chance. And I know in my bubble, lovely Disney world,
I like that.
I love that to be a reality. And I hope, you know, when I do leave this planet, that is something that's going to continue happening. You know, I want that vision. I want that. Why can't we have world peace? Like, I don't understand why it's this faraway dream. It doesn't have to be, you know? So yeah,
and that's
I'm very
so
passionate, as you can tell.
No, that's so true. So what would give me 2 tips that you would give somebody out there that is struggling emotionally, physically, mentally? Because I'm sure you hit a lot of bumps in the roads or went backwards. It's not like you said one day, I'm going to be strong today and I'm beautiful. You hit a lot of bumps. You went backwards. You probably, you know, had a lot of obstacles along the way. What are 2 tips that you could give somebody listening today, how to, you know, find their inner beauty?
So that's a tough one, but great question. So for me, first and foremost is really looking at yourself and know that this is happening for you, not to you. So it's not personal.
Yeah.
And from this thing that's happening to you is going to be someone else's survival guide in the future. You know, so when you share it, the more you share this story, people are going to gain strength from it. So even though you might not be feeling great at the time when this situation's happening, in the future, people are going to look at it and go, wow, how did you do that? So that's one thing. 2, no one is exempt from pain and suffering, regardless of what they have in their life, as what we might see in the media or social media. They are suffering too. So we're all human beings before we are anything else. Take away our job titles, religion, name, everything else. We're human beings. We have feelings, we have emotions. We all suffer similar things. The loss of a person, a pet, a job, a limb, still a loss. We're all grieving something. So, you know, that's what unites us. We all have common emotions. So just know that whatever you're going through, it's just a momentary thing in life. It's not your forever. And you can change how you view it. I didn't have an option to look at my life negatively. It just wasn't there. I feel very grateful. And, you know, earlier you mentioned a horrific accident. That's not something I would associate with my accident. You know, I've always seen it as a blessing rather than a negative thing.
So tell us why you turned it around to a blessing.
Because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about it. I wouldn't be living this beautiful life if I didn't have that, because I'll probably just live a very mundane life, probably do a 9-to-5 job, probably have just, it's just bills, it's just another day. Like, I'm not knocking that, don't get me wrong, but there is more to us than that as human beings. We all have some dreams, whatever, like I said, wherever our life situation is in the world, we all have dreams. So I'm just blessed that my accident, my kidney failure, and all of the other things in between has given me even more purpose to live this fruitful life.
And that's what I think a lot of people struggle with when they do have something happen to them in life that sets them back. They always say, why me? Or I don't understand why this is happening. And it's not until later in life that they actually understand the purpose.
Yeah. And I've understood my purpose from a young age, which I was really lucky to have experienced. But because external noises was like, oh, poor you, oh no, bless you, know, like, so I kind of lived in that pity mindset, like, but I don't, that's not who I am. Like I said, I don't associate horrific as an accident. And I get that's the terminology we would use because it's just what we were used to, don't get me wrong. But I don't associate that with my life or my accident. I've often in interviews, it's like, she suffered horrific burns. And it's like, but they're not horrific to me. So it's just how I see it. It's really weird because people always ask me, have you ever asked yourself why me? And I was like, well, no, I haven't, because my thing always used to be like, I see this God as this thing out there. Try me. What next? What are you going to give me? Come on, like, wherever test you put me through, I'm just going to smash it. So, yeah.
I like that. And I think that more people need to start spinning a negative into a positive. I think that is one of our culture's problems, is we see everything negative at first and we don't try to find a positive.
We can't get out of that woe is me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we just, it goes round and round. Why me? It always happens to me. I've got bad luck. It's like, we can only blame so much on luck, right?
Yeah.
But, one of my, like, when I do a lot of talks, people say, what title would you use? And I would say luck or life's calling, question mark. So I don't see myself as lucky to have survived a plane crash. It was necessity. It was necessary for me to survive that so I can sit here and express what I needed to. Like, I've come for purpose, I've come to deliver a message of love and compassion, and I had to do that. I had to have this accident in order to do that, right? So, yeah.
And that you're a perfect example. People are looking at what you've taken, which all of us look at as a negative. You've actually turned it into a positive. So maybe they're looking at their lives like, you know what? I need to start looking at things that happen badly in my life and try to turn them around and not think it's, life ending, which some people do.
I mean, and you absolutely are doing it. We've got a comment on Instagram that your attitude is absolutely infectious. And so they're taking what you're saying and putting it into place.
For me, one of the biggest things, is I like to change things up. If it doesn't feel right, I like to change it. Like last year, I actively said it's the last time I'm going to mark the accident. I mean, it's on 14th of February, so we all know what day that is, 14th of Feb, hearts and flowers and Valentine's, right? So it's a date you don't forget. So, all this time carrying that pressure, I've got to be sad on the day, I've got to mark it somehow. But if I woke up not feeling sad that day, how can I pretend to be sad? But I did. I pretended to be sad because it's a day of my accident. But I finally took that rein back and went, but if I wake up feeling good, I can't fake being sad. So I decided I'm actively not going to mark this day anymore. I'm not going to put some spin on how I'm feeling. I'm just going to embrace the 14th of Feb as it is, spend it with people that I love anyway. And, some people think buying cards and flowers is cheesy, but you know what? If sending someone flowers and a card is going to make them feel good, well, what's cheesy about that, right? Like, let's just stop nitpicking at things. So I decided I'm not going to mark the day, because on the 14th of June, I might wake up and feel sad. It's okay. So our body doesn't know the Gregorian calendar. That's our mind to tell you today is Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. The body doesn't know this. The soul definitely doesn't know this. So I couldn't fake it anymore. So I decided I'm not going to mark it. There's nothing to mark. There's nothing to see here anymore. And that's it. I've taken full control.
You didn't let a date defy you anymore.
No, and that's literally what I want to put out there. We don't need things to define us or hold on to something. I'm not saying the sadness isn't there. I'm not saying we don't mark those days because we might have lost somebody or something, but I'm not going to mark that day and pretend to be sad when I'm not sad. That's what I want to make very clear.
I did read that post on your Instagram, and that was very inspirational that you just stopped, being sad on that day.
There's no obligation to that day.
Yeah. And it's like just so many things in our life. Like, partly I've actively chosen not to have children just because of my health. And then life throws curveballs, and because of my health, I wouldn't be able to carry. Now, for years and years, I was not made to feel, but I felt, yeah, but what use, we all would feel this at some point. What use is there? That's what a woman's role is, for example. But when last year, I think it was on Mother's Day, where I flipped it and went, but I get to be a universal mother. I get to be the one somebody comes to, asks for advice, come to for a hug or whatever. That's a blessing, so I flipped it for me, because I don't feel sad I can't have children. But years I did, because I was made to feel like that, because, oh, you can't have, oh, poor you. But I'm not, I'm just not.
Well, I think you've got quite the fan. Somebody perhaps by the name of Yuma has said that connecting with you has really changed their life, that you are one of the most positive and supportive individuals that they've met.
Oh, bless you. You all need to follow Uma, because she does the most amazing work as well.
So to say, her handle is arts and crafts, and so obviously check it out.
Yeah,
she's amazing. So yeah, do follow.
Yeah, no, that's what we love about Thriving Females, is we get a connection after a connection out there, and that's what's so, and this is so awesome to have this ability to be able to do international. Like, I would have never met you, if I didn't have this capability, which is amazing to me.
Absolutely. And I think that's the whole thing. There's room for everyone. There's no competition. We don't need to be this whole old mindset of being, bitching about things and I'm better than. No, let's just support each other. Yeah, we might be doing similar things, but no one is you, and that's your superpower, right? There's enough room for people to sell crystals, to make jewelry, to whatever you're doing. There's enough room. So just support each other. That for me is, vital.
Well, do you have any more questions? I don't know. I'm so inspired. Yeah. We had so many people on Instagram today watching you, and people were loving you, which is amazing. And I just love that everybody was watching. But again, Tulsi, one of the reasons that I reached out to you, and I know we had a hard time connecting because you are a very popular and busy person, is all your posts were so inspirational. And I see you thriving in life and inspiring other females out there. And again, it was so important for me to be able to spotlight anybody and everybody that's a female out there doing whatever they do in life. And this is the platform that we've used. And you are our first international Yes.
I did
Nobody,
that,
you got
I
the
can
right
retire now.
And like somebody said, you're infectious. I mean, you had so many positive comments today that I hope that, we've inspired some new followers for Thriving Female, that we can keep inspiring each other, because I love learning from other females. I know Tara does. We're intrigued. We're inspired. We like to learn new stuff. We're always liking to chat. That's why she's my friend, and that's why she's on here, because we love talking to everybody and learning stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed being here with us today.
Oh, I sure have. And thank you for the followers, listeners. And please do keep supporting each other. Share stories, like do not suffer in silence. And the more we share, the more we're going to thrive. And, I think one thing is, when you're surviving, you'll use any tools or whatever knowledge you have at the time. When you come out the other side, look back on that and really give yourself that gold medal or platinum, because look, our queen just celebrated her platinum jubilee. So yeah, give yourself a platinum and just say, I used everything that I could at that time to survive, but now I'm thriving. I'm going to change things. And in changing things is where we're going to help other people do the same. So forgiving yourself for things that were beyond your control is one of the really vital ingredients into us thriving forward. So that's what I'm going to leave you all with.
So Tulsi, would it be okay if we put on here that if anybody wants to reach out to you personally and chat with you, maybe they're struggling with something personally, emotionally, physically, that they can contact you via your Instagram or your Facebook?
Absolutely. Yeah. Instagram would be good. Facebook is fine.
Okay, that's always like when you make these connections, like you and I have chatted, and it's funny, we just chatted on Instagram, and I think it's been a great relationship. We've had so much positive feedback on here. You are just a positive influence to us all, and I can't even thank you enough for being on here, telling us your story and inspiring everybody to be kind.
Yes, absolutely. Starts with self and then it spreads.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Don't forget that we'll be joining another guest on Monday, June 10th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Do you want to share who?
Oh, yes. Tulsi, I know I talked about going to Costa Rica, but we actually have a guest that'll be, I guess that's international too. Oh, yeah. That'd be like
you set the bar.
You're first. But we have a guest coming from Costa Rica that sold everything in America, and she moved to Costa Rica with her entire family, changed her entire life, and became, she changed to a plant-based diet as well. So lots of changes, but we're going international, and I'm so glad you're leading the,
the charge.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so privileged now. I love this.
So hopefully we'll get to tune back. You might even get to join us as a guest host sometime, if that would be good, because I really enjoyed having you on with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all so much.
All right. Thanks, Tulsi.
Ciao.
Hey, Tulsi.